The International Gentleman presents 10 Things in British Columbia That Don't Look Real, a province where the mountains descend directly into the Pacific, where glacial lakes glow in colors that have no name in ordinary language, where ancient rainforests have stood for 1,000 years without a single visitor, and where the desert, impossibly, begins at the water's edge. This is not the Canada most people picture. It does not look like British Columbia. It barely looks like Earth. So, sit back and let us take you through the very best that British Columbia has to offer. Number 10. Brandywine Falls. Our journey begins not at the coastline, but inland at a waterfall that most visitors drive past without stopping. Brandywine Falls drops 70 meters, nearly 230 feet, in a single unbroken plunge into a basalt crater basin formed by ancient volcanic activity. The rock walls surrounding the fall are hexagonal columnar basalt, shaped over thousands of years by slowly cooling lava flows. The circular basin below was not carved by the river. It was carved by the earth itself, millions of years before the river arrived. Standing at the viewpoint, the scale of the crater makes the waterfall look almost architectural, too perfectly framed to be accidental. The columns of black rock, the white curtain of water, the circular bowl below. It does not look like a natural formation. It looks like something designed. Few visitors outside BC know this exists, and fewer still understand that they are standing inside a volcanic crater. Wide crater shot from above, close on hexagonal basalt columns. Slow push into the falls from the viewpoint. Number 9. Nairn Falls. But our journey does not stay on the plateau. It descends to a river that simply vanishes. The Green River at Nairn Falls does not cascade over a cliff in any conventional sense. It is compressed force through a slot so narrow that the river, which moments before ran wide and open through the valley, disappears entirely into a crack in the earth, less than 3 meters across in places, and drops in a series of churning falls 30 meters below. The rock through which it passes is ancient granite, worn smooth by 10,000 years of glacial meltwater. The sound reaches you before the sight does. A low, sustained roar coming from nowhere from underground, it seems. And then the earth opens and the river is there, 10 meters below your feet, turquoise and violent, pouring through a gap so tight it seems almost improbable that this much water fits through it. It barely looks like a river. It looks like a place where the river decided to disappear. Number 8. Mystic Beach. From the canyon, our journey moves to the ocean, to a beach that has almost no right to exist. Mystic Beach sits at the end of the Juan de Fuca Trail on Vancouver Island's southwestern coast. There is no road to it. It is accessible only on foot, through old-growth forest, over suspension bridges, and down a steep descent to a Pacific shoreline that most British Columbians have never visited. The beach is flanked by sandstone sea caves carved over thousands of years by Pacific wave action, and fed by 2 separate waterfalls that fall directly onto the sand from the cliffs above. The moment the trees give way to the ocean, the visual shift is disorienting. The dark forest damp, enclosed, ancient opens suddenly onto a white sand beach, sea caves, 2 waterfalls, and the open Pacific. It does not feel like the same country. It does not feel like the same planet. Few visitors outside BC know this exists, and fewer still make the walk to find it. Number 7. Cathedral Grove. Not every wonder in British Columbia is measured in water. Some are measured in time. Cathedral Grove on Vancouver Island contains Douglas firs between 800 and 1,000 years old. Some stand over 75 meters tall, taller than a 20-story building with trunks so wide that it takes 6 adults with outstretched arms to encircle them. These trees were already centuries old when Columbus crossed the Atlantic. They were ancient when the Magna Carta was signed. Walking beneath them is a fundamentally different experience from any other forest. The canopy closes overhead at a height most trees never reach, and the light that reaches the forest floor has passed through 100 meters of living wood. It is dim, green, and cathedral still. The name is not poetic invention. It is an accurate description. It does not look like a forest. It looks like the set of a fantasy film, and no one has told you it is real. Number 6. Okanagan. But if the coast produces the unexpected, nothing prepares a first-time visitor for what awaits in the interior. The Okanagan Valley sits in a rain shadow behind the coast mountains, one of only 4 desert ecosystems in Canada, with annual rainfall lower than parts of Arizona. The valley runs 200 kilometers through the southern interior of BC, centered on Okanagan Lake, which stretches 135 kilometers and holds water of a blue so vivid that photographs of it are routinely dismissed as edited. The surrounding hills are covered in sagebrush, ponderosa pine, and grassland that bears no resemblance to the Canada of popular imagination. Over 200 wineries operate in the valley, producing wines that now compete internationally at the highest levels. To drive into the Okanagan from the coast is to cross a border that appears on no map, from rainforest to desert, from gray Pacific light to 300 days of desert sun. Vineyards in the foreground, turquoise lake in the middle distance, brown hills behind. It does not look like British Columbia. It barely looks like Canada. And almost no one outside the province knows it is here. Number 5. Haida Gwaii. Some places in British Columbia are hard to reach. One is harder than most. Haida Gwaii, an archipelago of over 150 islands sitting 130 kilometers off BC's northern coast, is accessible only by ferry or float plane. The islands have been home to the Haida people for over 14,000 years, making this one of the longest continuously inhabited places in the Americas. The southern portion, now protected as Gwaii Ha'anas National Park Reserve, contains ancient Haida villages that have never been developed, their totem poles slowly returning to the forest floor in a process the Haida call going back to the earth. There is no road connecting the islands to the mainland. There is no bridge. There is only the ocean. Old-growth Sitka spruce, mist that does not burn off by noon. Ancient poles standing in clearings where villages once stood. Eagles in numbers that seem almost theatrical. And a silence that has weight. Few visitors outside BC know this exists. And fewer still make the journey. It is, almost certainly, the most remote and ancient place in Canada that most Canadians have never heard of. Number 4. Helmcken Falls. Our journey now arrives at one of the most powerful natural spectacles in the country, one that almost no one in the world has heard of. Helmcken Falls, in Wells Gray Provincial Park, drops 141 meters, nearly 465 feet, into a volcanic bowl at the base of the canyon. For comparison, Niagara Falls drops 57 meters. Helmcken Falls is more than twice its height. It is the 4th highest waterfall in Canada and among the highest in all of North America. And yet, It appears in almost no international travel guide. It does not appear on most lists of Canada's natural wonders. It is, for reasons that have never been adequately explained, almost entirely unknown outside of British Columbia. In winter, the mist from the falls freezes as it rises, forming an ice cone at the canyon floor that can reach 40 meters tall, a stalagmite of frozen waterfall, growing upward while the water continues to fall through its center. There is nothing else like it on Earth. This is one of the most astonishing waterfalls in North America. Barely looks real, and almost no one outside BC knows it exists. Number 3, Garibaldi Lake. From the canyon, our journey ascends to a lake whose color has never been satisfactorily explained. Garibaldi Lake sits at 1,470 meters above sea level, approximately 80 kilometers north of Vancouver. It was formed roughly 10,000 years ago, when lava flows from the volcanic peak known as the Barrier dammed the valley, creating a lake of exceptional depth reaching 119 meters at its deepest point. The water's extraordinary turquoise color is the result of glacial rock flour, microscopic particles ground from the bedrock by the Sphinx Glacier above, which refracts light in the blue-green spectrum at an intensity that photographs cannot fully capture. The lake is surrounded on 3 sides by volcanic peaks, the most prominent of which Mount Garibaldi rises to 2,678 meters and is itself an active stratovolcano. To stand at the lake shore is to stand inside a geological process still underway. Volcanic peaks above, glacial blue below, alpine wilderness in every direction. It does not look like a lake. It looks like something left behind by accident from a different, more dramatic planet. Number 2, Joffre Lakes. And yet, as extraordinary as Garibaldi is, there is a place in British Columbia where 3 lakes of this color appear in sequence, stacked one above the other, up a single mountainside. Joffre Lakes Provincial Park contains 3 glacial lakes, Lower, Middle, and Upper Joffre, arranged in a vertical sequence along a 5-kilometer trail that climbs 370 meters from the valley floor to the base of the Matier Glacier. Each lake is fed by the glacier above. Each is the same impossible turquoise. Each is separated from the next by a waterfall. For many years, the park was almost entirely unknown outside the surrounding region, until photographs of the upper lake began circulating internationally and the world arrived. The progression is the experience. The first lake is beautiful. The second is extraordinary. And the third, reached after a steep climb through old-growth forest, delivers a visual payoff that is, by any honest measure, almost improbable. 3 shades of turquoise, 1 glacier, perfect silence, and the unmistakable sense of having arrived somewhere that was not meant to be found. Few visitors outside BC know all 3 lakes exist. The photographs do not do it justice. Number 1, Spotted Lake. At number 1 stands a place that does not fit any category of natural wonder in the conventional sense. There is no glacier, no peak, no waterfall, only water and something that should not be possible. Spotted Lake, near Osoyoos in the South Okanagan Desert, is a saline endorheic lake, meaning it has no outflow, and concentrates minerals as it evaporates through the summer. It contains one of the highest concentrations of magnesium sulfate, calcium, and sodium sulfate of any lake on Earth. As the water recedes, it leaves behind hundreds of individual mineral pools, circular, separated by natural walkways of mineral deposits, each pool a different color depending on its precise composition. Some are yellow, some are green, some are deep blue, some are white. The result is a lake surface covered in polka dots, each one a different color, changing from week to week throughout the summer. There is no adequate comparison. It does not look like a lake. It does not look like a natural formation. It looks like something a child drew on a piece of paper and somehow left behind in the desert. The Silts Okanagan people, on whose territory the lake sits, have understood its power for thousands of years. Each pool, historically believed to hold different healing properties. Modern analysis confirms a different but equally remarkable truth. This is one of the most mineral-dense bodies of water on the planet. It does not look like British Columbia. It does not look like Earth, and almost no one outside the Okanagan knows it exists. Hidden gems. Skookumchuck Narrows. Few visitors to British Columbia's Sunshine Coast know that 4 times a day, at the precise moment of tidal exchange, a narrow channel between 2 inlets becomes the most powerful tidal rapids in North America. Skookumchuck, a word from the Chinook trading language meaning turbulent water, is a passage through which the entire tidal volume of 2 large inlets must flow within a matter of hours. At peak exchange, the water moves at 30 kilometers per hour, generating standing waves over 3 meters tall and whirlpools wide enough to capsize a vessel. Advanced kayakers travel from across the world to run it. Most visitors simply stand at the viewpoint and watch the ocean turn inside out. The access is a 4-kilometer walk through coastal rainforest. The timing is everything. And the sight of the ocean behaving like a river, white, violent, and mathematically precise, is among the most unexpected spectacles in the entire province. Few visitors outside BC know this exists. British Columbia does not reveal itself easily. It does not place its wonders beside highways or mark them with signs. It hides them behind forest trails, behind desert roads, behind ferries and float planes and 8-hour drives from the nearest city. And in doing so, it preserves something that most places on Earth have long since lost: the genuine possibility of surprise. This is a place where the desert meets the glacier, where the ocean meets the rainforest, where an alien lake of mineral pools sits in a valley that also contains vineyards, and where a waterfall twice the height of Niagara stands almost entirely unknown. This is British Columbia. This is the International Gentleman, bringing you closer to the world's most extraordinary destinations, one journey at a time. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to the International Gentleman. And if there are any places, cities, or countries you'd like us to feature next, drop them in the comments below.